So the Euros is done, which does mean that it is only a short while now until we get the start of the Premier League season. And I thought there was no better way of celebrating that than going through the current Liverpool squad, not including any potential transfers, and deciding who we would start, who we would bench, and who we would sell. Now, it does obviously go out saying that any new transfers that we might make between now and then, we're obviously going to be keeping. We're not going to want to sell them, unless if we, re-sign Loris Karius or some bollocks like that. But without further ado, let's get into it. Right, let's get started then. So I did actually build this whole tier list myself. So if you want it shared or anything, let me know. I can always do that. But let's start at the back. So let's start with, is it Vixlav Jaros? I'm so sorry, I don't know his first name. Basically, Petr Cech 2.0. So he's going to be the third choice goalkeeper moving forward, isn't he? Adrian's now gone. So, I mean, you wouldn't want to sell him. You're just going to bench him. You're not going to want him starting over Alisson or Quillan Kelleher. So let's get him straight in there on the bench. Right, and then we have got, obviously, our Quillan Kelleher, our second choice goalkeeper. Now, big rumours that he is looking to be a number one somewhere else. Quite frankly, wouldn't blame him for a move. He played phenomenally last season when he stepped in. I don't think he played too many games less than Alisson, to be honest. Obviously was heroic in that cup final, which we won. So, again, I wouldn't want to sell him. My only thoughts are that if you do sell him, you will get good money for him. Probably better money for him now than you will ever get, potentially. But then that's where you need to decide, is he long-term going to be the backup to Alisson? I personally am not sure that is what they're going to do full-time. However, despite that, I don't see Liverpool signing another keeper, and I do really like him, so I'm not selling him. He's going on the bench as well. Let's put him ahead. Oh, I can't. Oh, yeah, I can. There we go. And then, obviously, let's not waste our time with this one. Alisson Becker, best goalkeeper in the world, in my opinion. I don't know. Argue it if you wish. Yeah, starts every day of the week, doesn't he? Let's be completely honest. You're not going to want to get rid of him. I don't want to get rid of him. You don't want to get rid of him. Let's get him to start in 11. Right, let's keep it going then with our defenders. Well, I say defenders. This guy's a defender. Sepp van den Berg, a man who I don't believe has played for Liverpool outside of a pre-season in, 4 years or something? I remember there being so much hype when this guy joined that he was going to be almost like the second coming of Van Dijk. Still incredibly young. Did he go on loan to Mainz, I believe? And apparently has done well enough there that, from what I understand, they do want to sign him permanently. He has also outright come out and said that he does not want to play for the club again. He wants to be sold by Liverpool. For me, that's enough to get him in there. I mean, if you don't want to play for the club, fuck off. Simple as that, really. Not to mention, he's not getting in ahead of Van Dijk, Gomez, Kwanzaa, arguably Nat Phillips and Reece Williams, or Konate. So, yeah, I think if you can get 10 mil for him, absolute robbery. But yeah, I would happily get rid of the bloke. So moving on, the Hungarian goat, Mr. Dominik Szoboszlai. Now, again, I think it's very dependent upon the system that is played, but for me, and when you think about it rationally, you spend 70 million on him last year. Yep, last year. He started like a house on fire, got to Christmas, looked like he was fucked, to be honest. It looked like his legs had gone, and he just looked knackered. Hopefully he can be used a bit more sparingly. I remember there being a stint where he was playing in the cup against someone like a Bournemouth, and you just sat there like, there's no reason for this man to be playing right now. And it was like, weekend game, cup game, weekend game. It's like, you don't need to play him. So if he gets rested a bit more, I'd love to see him starting every week. He's got bags of talent. We all know how good he is. We've seen how good he is at Leipzig. We've seen glimpses of it at Liverpool. Some of the goals he scored are absolutely ridiculous. No way would I want to sell him. I would love to see him in the starting 11. Particularly, and I know that this has been a big hot topic of debate recently, if we do play that 4-2-3-1, which supposedly we won't, we'll play 4-3-3, but either way, as a 10, love him. As an 8, and definitely not as a 6. But he can also play on the right wing, or he has done for Leipzig, so very versatile player in there. I think you find a way to start him, so he's going straight into my starting lineup. Ah, there he is, the beautiful little Argentinian Alexis McAllister. I mean, we'll just get him in here already, right? He is easily, without shadow of a doubt, Liverpool's best midfielder currently. Um, Versatile, sprays the ball well, keeps the ball well. Surprisingly, not terrible defensively. I definitely don't want him playing in a six like he was last season. Like, I think he really showed how good he was in that eight role. But again, he looks so much better than anybody else on the ball. It's almost kind of scary at times. You can't not have him in your team. Also, big moment player from what we saw at the end of last season. Oh, or just sort of generally sort of throughout, right? He's won everything. He's just coming off the back of a Copa America win. You got to think he's going to be ready and raring to go again. And yeah, based on last season, you can't not have him in your starting 11. Ooh, Fabio Carvalho, the forgotten man. Now, again, I know this has been a whole discussion, and Arnie Slot has literally come out and said that he will play 4-3-3. But just bear with me on this one. If we play 4-3-2-1, I would love to see this man get a chance in that number 10 role, because that's the position he plays. Obviously, he went away to Leipzig, didn't work out, did it? Ended up going to Hull. Looked really promising. Again, I get it's the championship, and obviously the quality's not as good, but you can only play what you're up against, right? He looked class. He looked really, really good. And he did show in a Liverpool shirt in moments that he was good. I'll never forget that 98th minute winner against Newcastle. So there's clearly a player in there. It's just whether he fits into a Liverpool system. Certainly didn't fit into a Klopp system. I don't really believe that Klopp wanted him, right? I think he was just signed by the club. So I don't really see how he fit into his plans. But with a new manager coming in, he's got to fancy himself to be like, look, maybe there's a chance for me here. There's no reason why not. You've seen other players of a similar age break into the team with the likes of Elliott. Why can't he do it as well? So yeah, I wouldn't sell him. I would want to bench him for now, see what opportunities he gets. But to be honest, it could come to January, he might get 0 minutes, and it might be like, yeah, see you later. But for me, we're keeping hold of him at this moment. Ryan Gravenberch. Now, this is a weird one for me. Like, I was so gassed when we signed him. I thought he was going to be a great player. Again, you've seen what he's done at Ajax. He's like almost as like a deeper sort of, not an essential number 6, but like a double pivot number 6. He's brilliant. He can spray the ball so well, travel with the ball really well, just move forward. All nice stuff, all happy days, right? But he never seemed to break into the side last season. And I don't know if it was because of better performances from the likes of Endos and McAllisters, but you'd think that a player of his quality would have been able to nail a place down, and he just didn't. And going into the next season, realistically, I can see that still being the case. Like, he's not better than a Szoboszlai, he's not better than a McAllister. He's different, of course. They all have different attributes between them all. But for me, it's a bench. Like, that's a very, very high quality player to bring on, should you need to. Again, good rotation, cup games, slightly lesser Prem games, whatever competition you're going for at that time. But I don't think he starts. Young Bobby Clark. I do like Bobby Clark, mainly because he got a really good card on FIFA this year, just gone. Yeah, really made me fall in love with him even more. Even though he did also score, was he I think he's the youngest Liverpool player to score in a European competition. So fair play to that lad there as well. Yeah, he was class, wasn't he? He was class when he had to step in when we had like 4 players fit. Came in that cup final, much like all of them did fantastically well. I don't want to see him. I really wish that there was sort of a thing on this tier. I should have made it, really. Actually, let's make one right quick. Hold on. So just quickly added another one in there just called Loan, because I think that does like really suit where Clark is at right now. I wouldn't want to sell him. He's nowhere near good enough to be in that starting 11 on a like weekly basis, especially if everybody else is fit. You can't start him ahead of the likes of the players that you've got. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to lose him as a player. But I think if he can go out maybe to a championship side, get a bucket load of experience, maybe I don't know, like a promotion sort of side, like a Norwich or someone, I think that'd be class. But yeah, don't want to see him leave Anfield anytime soon. Oh, and there he is, one of my favourites, old Diogo Jota. I don't know if this is controversial or not, But I'm doing this. Like, to me, he is the best finisher at the club. I know you've got Salah, who's obviously class. You've got Nunes. I mean, Nunes definitely isn't the best finisher, but you've got other attacking talent there. That man, I don't know if it's luck or sheer talent, but he's lethal in front of goal. The biggest issue with him is his fitness. He's always injured for a long spell throughout the season, and that's what does him. Like, if you can pick like your dream starting 11, everybody's fully fit all the time. Jota easily makes it up front for me. He just does. You could have him in the centre there, Salah on one side, whoever you want on the left-hand side. I don't think you can't not start him, personally, if he is fully fit, but that's obviously the big debate, isn't it? Is he going to be fully fit, yes or no? But no, really like the bloke. Would love to see him starting more often, and hopefully if he's fit, he will. Also, I do want to see him more centrally. I feel like there was at times where he was pushed out a bit on the left when he didn't necessarily want to be playing on the left. I know he played there a bit for Wolves and such, and the same for the Portuguese national side. But I genuinely think his best attribute, especially when we have like so many left wingers, is to play him more centrally. Especially since he's so good with both feet, and surprisingly in the air for a bloke who's like 5'8". But yeah, for me, Diogo Jota starts. Oh, there he is, one of the favourite little Scotsmen, Mr. Ben Doak. Again, glad I made this little sort of mark now, because I think that boy desperately needs a loan. He tried to start a few games, didn't he, last season? Like, he was started in the Europa League, started in a couple of cup games. There's so much potential there. It's great, but it just didn't quite work out, did it? Like, I remember he like rattled the bar. Like it was all nearlies, all lifts and nearlies, and that can really bring a player down if they're not getting a lot of opportunities. And at Liverpool, he's not going to get a lot of like those opportunities at the moment. So I think that again, a move out on loan somewhere would be phenomenal for him. Just get him on the right wing and let him run at somebody, and he will burn them. Like, you'd get him some minutes because he is a very talented player. And again, much like Clark, I really wouldn't want Liverpool to lose him off their books just yet, because I feel like there really could be a player in there in Ben Doak. Okay, it really is a good job I did make this little bracket here. Jayden Dance, another one. 100% cut player or loan him out for me. Again, when he was called upon, came in, did absolute wonders. Like, genuinely. Again, came in the cup final, didn't he? Came in a couple of games after. Like, did he score against United, I think? I can't remember 100%. But either way, he definitely came up with some big goals. And again, you see people come in and perform like that, and he's performed so well that you'd think, oh, maybe he warrants another couple of chances next season. But if everybody's fit, he isn't going to get them. And that is a real shame, but that's the way it is, unfortunately. Anyway, moving forward, again, it's a similar sort of vibe. You don't want to lose him just yet because there could be a real good player in there. You want him to go get experience? Loan is the perfect option, isn't it? Again, championship level side, great, bags of experience, could score a few goals. You've seen it happen with other sort of youth players that come from Premier League clubs, haven't you? Was it Sims, the one at Coventry? He did really well there. So you'd like to see that replicated with the likes of Dan's. But yeah, please don't sell him yet, Liverpool, because there is definitely a player there in that lovely afro. Haha, the old Greek Scouser, Simi Acosta Simikas. I think he's a bench player still, isn't he? Like, he's never going to start above Robertson if they're both fit. That's just a fact. I would be a little bit, I don't know if concerned's the right word, but a little bit pissed off, maybe, if I was him. Because when Robertson was out for a long time last season, he brought in Gomez at left back. Now, don't get me wrong, Gomez did absolute, like, bits there and was very solid. But Gomez isn't a left back. He's arguably not even a right back. He's a centre half, right? So when you see you're meant to be the deputy of a position and the makeshift person's being thrown in there instead, that's a bit concerning to me. Again, definitely not in the loan category. Definitely not going to be starting. I think he sort of flirts between the bench and sell mark, to be honest. I'm leaning more towards bench at the minute, just because I don't think Liverpool have enough defensive options. obviously nobody else has been signed at the recording of this. So for the minute, bench. But if we were to bring in another fullback, maybe it's time for Chimicast to go. Even though he has just recently signed a new deal, hasn't he? So I don't know. We'll have to see on that one. But for the minute, let's keep him on the bench. We do love our Greek Scouser. And now speaking of our starting left back, Mr. Andy Robertson, let's get him straight in there. Yeah, so what? The boy's hitting 30, or is he now 30? I don't know, he's getting towards that age. He's sort of in the prime, isn't he? Don't really want to sell him. I know there's been rumours of that, with him potentially going to Bayern, since Alphonso Davies is looking like he's going to Real, potentially. So there could potentially be some movement there. But I wouldn't want to sell him. I mean, he's getting towards that status as a bit of a club legend, isn't he? Very reliable, very solid. He is starting to become a little bit injury prone, which does worry me. Like, it does seem to be as if he always is out for at least a couple of months in the season. Hopefully that's just a blip and that doesn't continue to get worse as he gets older. But when he's fit, he genuinely has been one of, if not the best left backs in world football for at least the last 5-6 years. So yeah, I would want to keep hold of him for now. Fingers crossed he can just stay fit. Alright, Super Nat Phillips. Now, this is a real tough one because I remember that season where it was him and Reece James at the back and he was genuinely unreal. He was just heading everything, getting in the way of stuff. Those two both played phenomenal. But it's, in the wise words of Claude, it's time to go for Nat Phillips. He's been out on loan, he's done it. Did he get, I want to say he got promoted with Bournemouth one time? Or he went on loan out in Scotland somewhere. I'm not 100% sure of where he's been, but I know he's been out on loan. He's obviously not been playing for Liverpool for a while. I think he's earned his stripes. He needs to just go to a team and earn a starting 11 place, really. Because it's kind of sad to see him just having his career at Liverpool if he's never actually going to break into that 11. And realistically, he never will. He's not quite at the ability to do that, unfortunately. But a very good player, cult hero. I look at him as sort of like Ragnar Klavan-esque. Just like this absolute cult hero who was never good enough to play for the club, really. But the situation Liverpool found themselves in, they needed centre-halves. He came in, did a bloody good job. And yeah, will forever be remembered, but I think it's time for him to find another club. Oh, here we go. One of my love-hate relationships, shall we say, Mr. Joel Gomes, or Joey Gomez. I really have tried to defend Joe Gomez for a long time. I do like him. He blows so hot and cold, it's really frustrating. Obviously incredibly versatile now, can play all across that back line. Quick. But he has a ricket in him, like he just does. We all know it. We've seen it time and time again. And the thing with Gomez, the biggest thing for me is, once his head drops, he's done. Like, once he makes one mistake, he makes a second, he makes a third, and it's game over. That is a worrying thing to have in your starting 11, especially when you're trying to compete for trophies. But he's such a good player. I would be really disappointed if Liverpool got rid of him. So we'll go for bench. Like, I don't think he's good enough to start. Frankly, I think there's better centre-halves there that should be wanting to start. So I think bench is a good option for Gomez. But it is a difficult one. Alright, and there he is. Calm as you like, Virgil van Dijk. Let's go ahead and get him straight in the starting 11. What do you say about Van Dijk? What, best centre-half in the world? Probably. At the very least, top 3. You're not going to want to get rid of him. You're not going to have him on the bench unless it's a fitness concern. I know that he's sort of come towards the end of his contract at the minute. I think there's 12 months, 18 months left. I can't see him going anywhere. I think it will get resolved, that one, and he will get locked down. At least, very least, I hope he does. I mean, he's the captain of the club, leader, won everything. Can be a big moment player if we saw in that cup final. Yeah, wouldn't want to lose him, especially not at this stage. You're going to want to see him come in with Arne Slot, full Dutch takeover, usher in this new Liverpool era, and fingers crossed it's successful. But you definitely need a figurehead sort of leader like him to maintain the club's structure as change goes on around it. So fingers crossed for me, he doesn't go anywhere. Alright, Ibu Konate, or as I like to call him, Bibu Konate. This is a real difficult one, because to me, he could easily go here, He could easily go here, or he could potentially go here. No, I don't think Liverpool should sell any more centre halves. They haven't got enough first class quality, is what it is. I'm going to put him in bench. Now, he is a weird one because on paper, and when he's on it, he's arguably as good as Van Dijk. Genuinely. Like, I do really think that highly of him. When you look at that game against Arsenal, where it was him, Van Dijk, Gabriel, and Saliba, they looked like the four best centre-halves in the world playing each other. It was really, really bizarre. And then you see him drop absolute stinkers. Like, he's just inconsistent. He's also another one that's incredibly injury prone. Like, generally speaking, there's a ricket in him. We know that. I just look at like that Everton game, like towards the end of the season, where those sorts of mistakes, you can't have those. Like, really, you can't. Not in games like that. I would start him above Gomez. Let me put it that way. Like, I would definitely put him above Gomez, but I don't think he's in my top two centre halves for Liverpool this season. But I'll tell you who is my second centre half for Liverpool this season: Mr. Jarell Quansah. Now, this boy's come in and he's looked the dog's bollocks, really. Like, he just has. Like, came in, zero reputation. Again, when we had no fucking defenders, showed his worth in the Europa League, came in, secured his place in the Premier League. What, he played Wolves, I think. And he's been a mainstay ever since. Can play on that right-hand sort of centre-half, can't he? So there's no reason why he can't necessarily be pinging balls out to the left wing in a similar way that Van Dijk does to Mo Salah on that right-hand side. So he's got that in him. He's got so much potential in him. He's fast, he's big, he's tall. I mean, he got the England call up, for Christ's sake. I know he didn't go, but to be honest, to get called up in that fashion is still pretty impressive. Got to give him some credit there. So yeah, I think Liverpool should go for it with him if they're not going to bring another centre-half in. I really do. I think he's earned his chance as such. So I'd like to see him get it. And I think next to Van Dijk, Robertson, and then Trent, that is a back four. I would be happy with it, to be honest. And yeah, so of course making up that back four is Mr. 66, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, I know there's big rumours at the minute that he's going to be on his way soon, potentially to Real Madrid. I would really hate that. I hope that doesn't happen. Like, there's a few players on this list that are linked to transfers, and I would be more upset about him than pretty much anyone else, to be honest. He's 25 years old, coming into the prime of his career, local boy, Scouse lad, unreal passing ability, whether you want to play him as a right back or as a left, or not on the left, or as a centre mid, regardless of what you want to do, he can spray it with both feet. Incredible amount of assists, incredible amount of sort of goals and just attacking output from that right back position. Again, it's all very dependent on how Schlott's going to play with his system. Does he want a more regimented back four? I feel like that's yet to be seen. But if you just let Trent play, Trent will provide you assists, score your goals, and win your football games single-handedly. I know he was out a lot last season, and that was covered quite nicely by Bradley, but you definitely could tell the difference when Trent came back in. You just could. As good as Bradley was immense, but he is that guy. And the fact he doesn't get in for England is an absolute joke. But yeah, 100% starts. Fingers crossed they can get his contract thing sorted, because you're looking at the future captain of Liverpool FC. You just are. So Mr. Reece Williams. So again, I'm going to stick him next to his good pal, Natty Phillips here. I think Reece Williams is phenomenal and has done a very stellar service to the club. But again, I think he's at the point where he's never going to start for Liverpool. Again, he's looked good. Potentially see him as a cut player, maybe. But I think it's time for Liverpool to cash in. Again, he's another one that's been loaned out previously. I think it's just time for him to move on. Again, that season with him and Phillips, immense. Go down as a little cult hero between the two of them. But as we've said, it's time to go for Reece Williams. So the Irish boy, Mr. Connor Bradley. Now, this one is not a difficult one at all, is it? He's going to be straight on that bench as a very, very strong fullback option. Again, completely burst onto the scene like Micah Richards, didn't he? Came in when Trent was injured, looked absolutely class, flew down that right wing, scored a bang goal against Chelsea. I think he did actually play on the right wing in the Carabao Cup final against, funny enough, again against Chelsea for a bit. Yeah, you got to give him his dues, right? He comes in, absolutely makes it feel as if Trent honestly wasn't missing, which is no easy feat, but his attacking ability was class. He was solid at the back, all round, incredibly good player to have in your squad. Like, I always think you've got a very good squad player when you can put him in a gap and it doesn't detriment your team. And I feel like you can do that with Bradley. And yeah, I would definitely not want to lose him. I feel like it's a little bit harsh because he could quite easily start in the Prem for other teams. But I think Liverpool should lock him down and not let him go anywhere as of yet. Again, it's kind of like a Kelleher situation, which is funny because they're both Irish. I know different Irish, but still. They're so good as backups, you don't want to lose them, but they're not good enough to start. And that's terrible, but you got to think selfishly. And selfishly, Liverpool should not want to lose both of those players currently. Oh, the other Scouse boy, Mr. Curtis Jones. Curtis Jones is such a weird one for me, man. I'm going to put him in bench. Again, he's not at the level to start with the midfielders that Liverpool have, in my opinion. And when I'm trying to think of the shape and picture in 11, I don't necessarily see him in it. I do quite like Curtis Jones. Again, he is... it's a weird one. I don't really know where Curtis Jones' best position is. Like, obviously, I know he's a midfielder, but he's not a 6. He's not a 10. Is he an 8? Maybe. Sort of. He's a progressive. He's definitely more attacking orientated than defensive, and he can link up the play quite nicely. But I just... He's like a square peg in a round hole. I don't quite see where he fits in. I don't quite know if he'll ever really reach the heights that we think he can. It's one of them for me. It's like one more season. Like, one more season. If not, you're down here. But at the minute, I think there's enough there. And honestly, the squad is just so light. I think you have to keep him around. I think you put him on the bench for now. Speaking of people on the bench for now, Mr. Harvey Elliott. Oh, this kills me to do this, but he needs to... He's just going to be on the bench, isn't he? Again, going back to this thing, I feel like we've said it a couple of times this video. If we play 4-2-3-1, I would love to see him start there and just try it. Like, I think he played well enough and performed well enough over last season to warrant a place in that starting 11. At the very least, just a chance. But if we are sticking to 4-3-3, he's a bench player for me. He's not... I wish we'd stop doing this. He's not quick enough to be on the right wing, not with how Liverpool play. You need somebody like a Salah or a Diaz, like somebody who's absolutely rapid. Harvey Elliott isn't slow, but he's not that electrifying pace going forward. Elliott needs to play in a more central position and be the creative little spark that he is, because he can be that, and he's phenomenal at it. But you can't... Again, it's a square peg round hole situation, similar to sort of Jones. I would definitely rate him higher than Jones. I think he deserves more chances than what Jones does, personally, just on how much he's contributed. And I would like to see him get more minutes. And I honestly think he will get more minutes than Jones. But at this point, he just doesn't quite fit in the starting 11 in that 4-3-3. But it's it can be very interchangeable. If somebody, like if a Szoboszlai drops form, Harvey Elliott goes in. If a McAllister drops form, I think Harvey Elliott goes in. He's your 12th man. He fully is your 12th man. And yeah, would not want to lose him at all. So, Stefan Bajcetic. Now, this is probably going to be the most polarising one of the whole video, to be honest with you. I'm putting Bajcetic here. He goes in the starting 11 for me. And let me explain why. He was completely crocked all of last season. But before then, season before, he was phenomenal, that lad. Came in, complete breath of fresh air, looked like he was going to hold his own against anyone that he played against. Played against, was it Real in Europe? Again, different levels, but he held his own. I would love to see him start, if they're going to play 4-3 as that number 6. I don't necessarily see him being a full number 6 for his whole career. I think he has too much ability going forward and like with his sort of passing and creative output. But if you've got a McAllister, you've got a Soboslai, I don't think that having him sitting behind them is necessarily terrible when you look at the other options that you've got currently. Also, he's a player that you can mould, right? Like, he has the ability to grow and change, and you can almost fit him into what you want him to be at this point. So there's no reason why Schlott couldn't mould him into being that defensive midfielder for Liverpool. And again, given his age, given his ability, I would love to see him do it. I know it's a lot of responsibility on a young kid, but I honestly would love it if he started next season. I don't think he will, but that would be my pick. And then, funnily enough, we have the other man who's going to be competing for that position, Mr. Wataru Endo. So again, given the Bajcetic choice, Endo's going on the bench. I do like Endo. I think he came in with an absolutely horrendous reception. Honestly, played half decent. You know what you're going to get with Endo. He's not quite quick enough. He's not quite good enough to be a 6 for Liverpool, and he never will be. He's only going to get worse. But he's not a bad player. There's worse players to have in your squad than an aging CDM who's been around a bit and can stick a really good challenge in and can score a pretty decent goal. Like, he's a good, solid option to have in that midfield. Again, not good enough in the big games. That's not what you're going to expect from him. But when you say that, he was absolutely immense in that cup final. So he can pull it out the bag. At the end of the day, the bloke's a Japanese captain. He's not exactly horrendous, is he? So I would like to see him just in the squad. I just fear that playing him would stop the potential growth of the Bajcetic in that position. Hence why, for me, he's on the bench. But again, easily rotatable throughout the season. Oh, so we finally get onto some more forwards. So Mr. Luis Diaz. Again, it's so tough with these. I think you start him. I think purely based, again, on the sheer pace he has, because on that left-hand side, he is quicker than Gakpo. He might not be as quick as Nunes, but Nunes tends to play in the middle. We know that. But the trickery and the skill that man has is unparalleled with anyone else in the team. Like, it just is. So, to me, that on its own kind of warrants him being there. Again, we all know the elephant in the room. He needs to improve on his end product. It's poor. It is poor at this point. He needs to get more goals. He needs to get more assists. Like, at this point, it's a fact. So, if that doesn't improve in the next few months, honestly, come January, I could see him dropping down to here. I really could. But, for now, and with no other attacking transfers or anything like that at this stage, I don't think you can afford to not start Luis Diaz. Oh, there he is, the man that causes every Liverpool fan so much joy and so much pain. Darwin Núñez. You're going on a bench. You're just going to be benched, I think, for this one, bud. Oh, I'm covering him up a little bit. Let me just move myself. There we go. Yeah. For me, honestly, I could quite easily throw him and sell as well. I think that's a little bit harsh, because I think there is enough raw talent there to potentially warrant another season of trying with him. But he needs to produce this season. Maybe under Arne Slot, you can get more out of him. I think if you play him off the shoulder, because we've seen there's a good player in there, we've seen it at international level. You play him on the last defender and just have to run forward, he'll get you goals. Granted, he needs to stand like a yard further back because he's always fucking offside, and it's so annoying because he's so quick. But there is such a good player in there. He just needs to calm down. He needs to chill out a little bit in front of goal, get his composure, because if he can do that, you're easily talking about one of the best attackers in the world. You are. If he can do that, and if he can take his chances and be clinical, just because he can create and generate so many on his own, just by how big, how strong, how fast he is, he can do that. So you just need him to just be composed. I don't think Liverpool will sell him, but if it doesn't work this season, he's got to be gone. So, there he is, the man. He's up on the wall behind me, Mr. Mohamed Salah. Didn't This is an interesting one for me. You can do two things with this, so we'll go through both options. First one is, you keep Mo, he plays the next 12 months out, does his best, probably gets under 20 goals a season, because he just does, because he's Mohamed Salah. Happy days. That's sort of it. Or, and this is what I think, I don't think Liverpool do, but this is what I kind of want them to do now. I think it's time. I think it's time we lose Mo Salah. Again, it's so difficult when you look at the output and the numbers to justify it and warrant it. But he's only getting slower. He's only getting older. He's not bad by any stretch. Not saying that at all. But him still being there is almost, in a way, stopping the whole team from being able to progress, if that makes sense. Like, you can't usher in a new right winger because you can't get rid of the bloke who's so good. You've also got to look at the Saudi silly money that you could potentially get for him. I know there's not been a bid yet this year, but, I mean, what was it last year? 150 million? If you even get, let's say 80, I think you take their hands off. I really do. I don't think he'll want to go. I honestly think that, and honestly, from his perspective, fair play. He's got a mad contract at Liverpool. Liverpool broke their entire wage structure to keep him. He's literally given the club absolutely everything in terms of trophies and performance and all of this stuff. If he wants to stay for the next 12 months, earn his paycheck, and then fuck off on a free, you've done your bit. Can't really argue with it. But from the club's position, I think the best thing they can do is cash in. And then we come to our final one, Mr. Cody Gakpo. I know this looks weird because there's only 10 players in the starting lineup. Because if Salah goes, I'm expecting there to be a new player in there. For argument's sake, if there's not, we're just going to drop Gakpo in the starting 11 and just jig around the forwards. I would love to see Gakpo get minutes on the left-hand side, which is where he plays. It's where he plays for the Netherlands, and he's looked brilliant. He literally finished top goal scorer of the Euros. And I know that's not exactly impressive, bearing in mind it was 3, but you get my point. I can't quite fathom how he's not got more opportunities there. I know that we've got Diaz, I know that we've got Nunes who can play, I know that Jota plays there sometimes, but he is a left winger. He just is. It's so clear with how he plays. He's so much better in that position. Give him an option, like give him a chance in there. Especially if you do sell the likes of a Salah, there's then another attacking option in that trio. So I think that Gakpo wants his chance. When he does play, he's a bit hit and miss. He is, but I do warrant that down a lot to being sort of, again, square peg, round hole, thrown in that attacking lineup, just, see what you can do. But he is big. He's fairly quick. He's not quite lightning like Diaz or Nunes, but he is fairly fast. And he is more creative than what people give him credit for, in my opinion. So I would like to see him given a chance in that starting 11, particularly if Salah or Diaz does end up going. So there we have it. That is the full squad. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? I'm going to guess a lot of people probably disagree with me with the Salah shout and probably the Bajcetic shout. But let me know in the comments down below. If you are new here, or if you have enjoyed that video, please do consider subbing and liking and sharing it and all that good YouTuber stuff, because it really does help me out, and it shows me that what I'm making, you guys actually kind of like it. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and hopefully see you in another video sometime soon.